are feeling refreshed, I encourage you to offer gratitude for that over fourth bell. If you've ever had sleep issues, you know that having a good night's sleep is the best. So, think about that. If you did not sleep well, maybe, well, first, don't be hard on yourself. If you didn't sleep well, and that's sometimes that's just the way it goes. The main thing is don't be hard on yourself. Um, However, there's a couple things to try that are pretty easy. Drink more water. Your body, the more water you drink, the more you kind of dilute and give space to all the stuff, right, that kind of comes into our body throughout the day. So, salts and fats and, all the kind of things that require a lot to break down. Alcohol requires a lot to break it all down. So if you've got plenty of water in your day, that'll help, So try taking a nap. I take 26-minute naps, 26 minutes. And it took a while for the nap to have an impact, but now it's really just a powerful tool. So, if you didn't sleep well, don't be hard on yourself. Drink some more water, and then hope you get a nap today. All right. So what do we see back here? Well, tomorrow's the honor quest with Military Student Services, and I just want to give a shout out to AARP Virginia I'm going to do it today and tomorrow for being the sponsors for 20 of these new Armor Down meditation cushions. These are, I think it's 4.0. This is version 1.0. This is from back in the day. See if you can get rubbed off now. We use these old labels. But anyway, this was from, I think, 2017. And these are the latest edition. So they'll be up if you want one, right? If you want one, come to join the Honor Quest tomorrow. We're going to start the Honor Quest I think we're starting at the Virginia War Memorial at 8:30 a.m. So we're going to do a quest around the city, and we're going to end up at the Capitol talking to the Virginia Veterans Caucus. So I just wanted to say thank you to AARP. I'll keep that up there. AARP Virginia, in particular, my man David DiBiase. Thanks, man, for making this possible. But yeah, because of AARP, 20 veterans will get Armor Down meditation cushions on Veterans Day. So that's really cool. Thank you, AARP. Okay, so today I want to talk about, especially in light of it being Veterans Day coming up, I want to talk about mindfulness and online combat or digital combat. It's a really interesting thing to think about the difference between, I shouldn't say combat, I should say conflict. The difference between conflict in the physical space and the difference between conflict in the digital space. So in the physical space, the veteran's task is to follow orders and get the job done. And if that includes violence and destruction, then that's what happens. So there's not a whole lot of choice in the veteran space or in the warrior space in physical conflict. Now, there's lots of space in the civilian or the non combat zone, just getting into physical altercation, and this applies to that. But I really want to talk about the digital space because, I think one thing that we can say about this past election is that while there were, physical elements where people got together and there was rioting and there was some violence, the real combat took place online. There was a lot going on in the physical space, but the lion's share of this election, largely because of the pandemic, took place in the digital space. So I really want to point that out because in the digital space, you're not so much worried about your physical safety. Okay. Now, I don't mean to say, you don't take care of your, mental health. You don't take care of your physical safety, et cetera, et cetera. I just mean that the actual back and forth is largely determined by the kind of attention your argument creates. So, you put something out on Twitter or Facebook, you get likes, you get engagement, and then the other person comes back at you, they get likes, they get engagement. So it's this back and forth engagement online. And that's really where the conflict is. And it, of course, shows up in the physical world, don't get me wrong, but in the combats, in the actual kind of conflict, it's digital. So what do you do in the digital space, um, in regards to mindfulness? How does mindfulness support engagement in the digital space? So I got my whiteboard out. I'm gonna break it down and get this stuff out of the way so you won't see it anymore. But I want to break it down. I want to talk a bit about it, because there's some really interesting aspects to how you can conduct yourself in a digital conflict that is really quite effective, and it's especially effective in the digital space. So again, thank you, AARP. Come to the Honor Quest tomorrow. Sign up for it online. You go to RBA Honor Quest. It's on Facebook or Instagram. But yeah, these cushions are awesome. Okay, so get this here, and maybe we can probably leave the AARP sign right there. So, okay. So let's just talk about the human experience real quick. We'll mark that off. All right, so you got your intellect. This is your story. Okay, you got your intellect and story. You can't even see that. Intellect, story. Okay. You've also got body, and you've got spirit. Okay. Yeah, you can see that good enough. All right. So intellect, body, spirit. Okay. So here's the way to think about it. All right. Online, what typically happens is someone makes a statement. Okay. Someone else makes a counter statement. And then there's this back and forth. Okay. What typically happens is that the back and forth exists around someone's story or identity, and people will say something and someone will combat whether or not their story or identity is valid. So there's a lot of working around this space here. Okay. When things fall apart, we'll typically go and see physical threats. I'll do this, I'll do that, etc., etc. So it'll go physical. Now, what's happening is this back and forth between kind of the story and the body. Someone says something in the story, that triggers someone else. Someone says something in the body, that triggers an emotional reaction. But what you're getting at in the digital space is it's all coming into your mind. It's all your perception, and you're getting, you're getting frustrated in the intellectual space, right? There's a sense of, what are they talking about? This is nuts. So it's just this confusion. So you can just see it in the physical space. And then this is emotion. So this is face. This is body. So this one's showing up in the face. This one's showing up in the body. And typically people aren't aware of the fact that they can just shift away from whatever's happening. So it's what's happening is not so much, it's not them. It's not them kind of doing thing. It's what you're paying attention to is triggering you. So what you're paying, so them, they, the commenter, the stuff that's coming at you, is coming at you, you're reading it, and it's causing a reaction inside of you. So that reaction is what you're reacting to. It's secondary. This is what they are saying. What someone else is saying is the stimulus. Okay, it's the stimulus that stimulates and triggers something inside, and then you're actually responding to what's happening to you inside, not really what's happening. It's not really what they're saying. You become beholden to what's called interpolation. It's the fact that you know language. It's the fact that you know what they're saying when they say the color blue. And because you know it's the color blue, because you know what they're saying, and you believe in the color blue, right? Because you've heard that statement, you've read that statement, do you believe in the color blue? Your reaction is largely fixated around that statement. So the specific statement is where you're fixated. And because you're not aware of what that statement's doing inside of you or how it's impacting you, you go right at that statement. You say, you make your rebuttal or your response about that statement. And so you stick into the path that's been created by the statement. You stay in that path. The problem with that is that you have so many other options. You have so many other choices than to stay with, I like the color blue, or I believe in the color blue. You can go immediately to somewhere else. You can shift completely away from that statement. The problem, the hard part, is that once the statement is made, your intellect immediately grasps onto it and understands it. And if the statement triggers your emotion, you've created, what's happened inside you is your mind and your body has become narrowed around that statement, and you're just trying to win, or you're just trying to make the other person see your point. It typically doesn't go the way we want it to when we do stuff like that. What typically happens is that there's an inability to move beyond the basics. All right. Now, where does mindfulness come in? That's me meditating. I don't know. Mindfulness. Okay. Now remember, in the digital space, the only person you're actually interacting with is yourself. Everything else is ones and zeros, and it is another person, and it is real. It is a connection, but there's not a physical threat element. There's not a threat to your body here. I mean, over time there can be, the same way, negative thinking can be, but there's no physical threat. So because there's no physical threat, I think a lot of people just forget that even though there's not a physical threat, the emotion body, all your emotions are still kicking on. They may not be kicking on to the extent of an actual physical engagement, but they're still kicking on. But most people aren't aware of that. Most people are inside of here. And so what mindfulness does is mindfulness generates a choice, okay? This is why mindfulness is such a big deal. The mindfulness generates the choice. And the choice offers space, okay? And the reason why you care is because you can go from conflict to harmony. You can get here even if there's conflict. You can do it. But the main thing, the only way to do it is not to prove the person wrong with your intelligence. The way to do it is to break the conflict that's happening inside of you and move away or move around or move kind of under the conflicting statement. So the statement is blue is the best. Blue is the best. Say blue is best, right? And you say, the hell it is. Blue is not best. And the other person says, no, blue is best. And you say, well, I've known blue my whole life. And blue is not the best. And when I did this and that and the other, what really happened was that we learned that red was the best. And they say red's not the best. Not only is red not the best, red is X, Y, and Z. So the fact that you're even claiming red, X, Y, and Z is that you are this. And then it's like, no, I'm not that. And then so what you're falling into is the intelligence trap or the story trap. The story trap. Whenever you fall into the story trap, it's identity, and identity is emotion. I mean, you can't get out of it, right? You're stuck. Okay. Mindfulness comes in there, and mindfulness casts a light on this. This is bell 1, bell 2. Bell 1 is the story. Bell 2 is emotion. Okay. So bell 1 and 2. The reason why we do bell 1 and 2. The reason why we do bell 1 and 2 is to notice the emotions and the intelligence, the story. Without bell 1 and 2, we just don't practice noticing we're in the space of intelligence. We don't practice noticing we're in the space of the emotional body. We need to practice that. We got to see it, because when someone says blue is best the first time and you get triggered, it gets easier after that to get triggered. It all becomes easier. That's the way our brains work. It all becomes easier. Whatever we do on a regular basis becomes easier. Our brains actually fix it in. So you get bell 1, you get bell 2. So that notices it, right? That you notice. Okay, oh wow, I'm in story. I'm in blue. I'm thinking all about blue. I'm imagining all the stuff I've ever done in relation to blue. I'm thinking about blue. And then you see, well, they're saying red's best? No, 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 no. And you start to notice that you've gotten your face is all jammed up. You notice that. You're like, oh, geez. It's pretty easy to kind of clear your face, right? But then you notice you got all these emotions, right? You feel it in your body. You feel it right in here. So then what do, right? So first you have to notice it. That's bell 1, bell 2. And then you have to, so what takes place back and forth? So this is bell 3. I'm losing space here. Bell 3, that's your breathing. So what you're doing when you go to bell 3 is bell 1, bell 2, you've noticed what's going on. I noticed it. Bell 3 is I'm going to do something about it. So that's engagement with breath. I'm running out of space. I'm engaging with breath. And that's meant, the breath practice is meant to kind of, okay, here it is. I feel the uptick, and now I can. So you take your breathing, you get your breathing in there, you smooth it out. And then, and this is the importance of bell 4. you're getting to love and compassion. That's the only place to get to. I said yesterday, the mindfulness by itself is not enough. It's mindfulness by itself is just a lens. It's just a lens to notice what's showing up. Without the compassion, without love, without gratitude, there's just nothing there. Like non-judgmental present tense awareness, if you take it to the extreme, means that you can literally just be non-judgmental about everything and have no identification with anything, and look at all of life as an illusion, as a mirage, as nothing. And I mean, you could even become a sociopath. Like that's why I remember a teacher saying to me, you don't teach people who are sociopaths mindfulness, because it makes it worse. Oh wow, I don't have to feel anything at all. I can just always be not feeling what's going on, and that's great. That's a no-go. You know, what you have to recognize is that getting to the love and the kindness and getting to compassion is everything. It's everything. And how you do it is you recognize what happens in this digital conflict is your story's confronted. You can typically see a person's reaction to a story, the intellect in their face, like, what? Blue is best? Are you crazy? Face. Emotion body is the other person saying, not only is blue bad, but red is the best, and red is so good. And the fact that you even like blue means that you're X, Y, and Z. I'm not X, Y, and Z. You know, and then so the emotions start coming up. And so then the battle becomes, who's right, right? The battle becomes who's right. Well, once you get to the awareness level where you're just like, oh, I don't have to follow that track. I don't have to follow the blue is best, no, red is better. I can say, in online, you can literally say, I keep thinking of the ocean. You keep talking about blue, and I'm sorry, I don't really have anything to say about blue being best. But every time I'm talking about blue, I think about the ocean. When I think about the ocean, I think about the colors of the waters in Greece. I'm nobody special, but I had the chance to see it, and it was beautiful. I mean, the crystal blue water. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. And you keep saying red, and maybe I'm just a fool because I'm hungry, but all I keep thinking of when you keep saying red is like medium rare. I'm just thinking medium rare, and it's just like, oh my gosh. So you see what I did? I switched the connotation. So instead of blue is best, I went from blue to blue ocean, creating a visual around a blue ocean, right? Because the same principle applies, interpolation. The fact that I go to a blue ocean from blue is best, I go to blue ocean, means that the other person has to kind of go with me. Because they understand English, they have to go with me. They have to visual. They don't picture a purple elephant. You can't do it. Like, the second you say something online, they read it. The second they read it, they understand it. They have to respond. And so if you create an entirely different kind of relationship in language, they can't not understand what you wrote. They can go, I don't understand what you're trying to say in the context of this conversation, but they can't not understand what you say. So you start there. So you get a story, a visual in there, and that'll break the spike. Then you give another reference. You try to create something that facilitates a body feeling. So, food, taste, this is an intellectual picture, blue ocean, red meat, it gets into a physical thing, a physical body thing. And then it's a kind of a hold the energy, right? You hold the energy for the person, which is self-deprecation and humility. What self-deprecation and humility does is it just creates this space for everybody. It's like, here, I'll take this on. And then you find a way into the loving kindness or the connection. it's like, oh man, I missed. I know we're in an argument, but man, I'm thinking about traveling again. I really miss that. When's the last time you traveled? And so you just, right, you just take them where you want to go, and that's how you break that up. I do it with my kids. I do it when my kids are fighting, but online it's very effective. It's very effective to break up what's going on and get to the heart, get to that fourth bell. And I'll read the stanza today, and kind of go over it with you, and then we'll go into the practice. Um, but it's so effective online. It's so effective because remember, there's not a physical threat. You don't have to worry about something online hurting you. It can frustrate you, it can make you upset and get you riled up, but you don't have to worry about it physically hurting you. So understanding this and practicing it is so satisfying. Gosh, I mean, how many times have you gotten into a Twitter conversation or a Facebook conversation and just left feeling rotten? Like that's just like it's all intellectual. That's completely intellectualized. But because nothing happens in isolation, it's also happening in your body. And so, I mean, Twitter can have a huge impact, but there's nothing right or wrong about that. It just is. All right. So here's how it works. Opponents confront us continually, but actually there's no opponent there. Right? So, in the digital world, this is very easy to understand. Now, in a physical combative environment, you try to explain that to someone, they're probably not gonna they're probably not gonna like it because it just doesn't fit. Now, in the digital world, it makes perfect sense. They confront us continually, but actually there's no opponent there. Enter deeply into an attack and neutralize it as you draw that misdirected force into your own sphere. Okay? So, drawing the misdirected force into your own sphere. We'll go into it a little bit deeper tomorrow. Same kind of thing. All in honor of Veterans Day. These are the warriors that go into combat for us. We don't have to. But you draw them into your sphere by what I described. So blue becomes blue like the ocean. Red becomes medium rare, meat or whatever. That's taking their energy, which is blue is best. No, red is best. Red is best. And you take it into your sphere. Your sphere. And then once it's in there, once you got it in your sphere, then you can take it to love and kindness. And you do that through self-deprecation, humility. You're like, look, I don't know about you, but blah, 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 blah. And you move into that second space, that second tier. And the goal with online is not to like convert people or fix people. The goal online is just to keep talking. Like that's the key. And if you can keep talking and keep doing it in a way that is, not critical or criticizing of the other person, then you can get to more love and connection. And once you get to more love and connection on a regular basis, then you can foster change. You can't foster change until you get there. Because if you try to foster change or try to foster any growth before that happens, it won't work. You can't break through. When people are triggered or when they're in a combative state, the stuff that needs to happen up here can't happen because the blood flow just isn't there. It stops back here in the lizard brain. You just can't. There's no matter what you do, no matter how great your argument is, it just won't work. So with that, let's actually practice. Each bell has a significant kind of skill set that's associated with it, and practice those every day. What are your cues to comfort? Follow your cues. You should have a clear understanding of what makes you feel the most comfortable. You should know what you tried yesterday, know what you're going to try again tomorrow. Know yourself, understand what feels best, what location's best. All right, here comes first bell. Got a lot of sound around me, so I'm just going to close my eyes and let sound be my focal point. The second I did that, all the sound went away. I'm going to touch. I noticed a little twinge in my lower back. Notice some pressure on my feet, my knees, on my crisscross applesauce. There's some cars out on the streets. That's really far away. There's drip, drip, drip in the refrigerator. There's my mouth. Just kind of move my jaw around, notice my mouth. Mostly just notice moisture. Sound or smell, I have that cardboard smell a little bit. A lot of quiet. I notice a lot of quiet. Let's go second bell. Ground. So now when I think of ground, I think of beneath the house. I think beneath the house. I think about the dirt beneath me. I imagine the dirt underneath the house, and then I kind of visualize that all the way up to my rear end. So all the way up to my rear, all the way up to what's underneath the kind of the outer edges of my body touching the ground beneath me. I see it as grounded, rooted. And then from there, I move into the pelvis and just make some moves. It's an engagement. There's nowhere to get to. There's no, I've got this perfect now. It never is going to happen. The only thing that matters is the engagement. It's the continued engagement. The ends are the engagement. The goal is engagement. So when you get to your pelvis, move around a little bit. Feel where it is today. You're not fixing it. You're not making it right. What you're doing is you're just interacting with the pelvis as it is. From there, move up to the core. Same kind of thing. I've said over and over again, for me, this is a complex spot because there's so many habits around sucking in and how this area needs to look and all this other kind of stuff. So for me, the core has always got something. There's always some contraction that I didn't notice. There's always some place that I could relax a little bit further. That's always present. Heart space. So if there's one space that offers the greatest kind of practice and balance and cohesion, it's the heart space. So you've got your heart, then you've got your shoulder blades, you've got your collarbones, you've got this region of your body. It's stacked on top of the core. It has a lot of movement. So just a little tilt forward can have an impact. Too much of a tilt back can have an impact. So here you're really just playing around with the balance of the upper body, looking for upper body that has kind of just a comfortable balance to it. And maybe notice your shoulder blades, let them soften, notice your collarbones, and just have an awareness of where your heart is resting on top of the rest of your spine. From here, come to the throat space. There's an opportunity here for awareness. There's a swallow, there's the breath, there's the hum. So just practice that for a couple moments. Swallow, noticing breath, noticing the hum sensation. Get to the top of the head. Top of the head's top of the spine. Imagine getting taller by a millimeter. It may not feel like much, But if you make it a habit of engaging with your spine, and it just becomes part of your habit, then I promise you, just like with everything else, the more attention you give to the region, the more the region will show up. And by that, I mean the more nuance will be there. The subtle shifts, oh, there's a little lift there, or oh, there's my posture. I forgot about that. All that stuff will start to become more nuanced, thicker, clearer, more accessible. There's a back and forth. There's I did that yesterday, and look how it's showing up today. It's feedback oriented. All right, from here, let's go to third bell. Let's go full inhale. And exhale. Let's move on the breath today. So inhale, turn to your right. And exhale, middle. Inhale, turn the other way. Exhale, middle. Inhale, push your chest out. Tilt back. And exhale, round the chest forward like a cat-cow pose. And just round it on the breath. Now just shake. Breathe and shake. And come to stillness. Notice how the body still has movement in it even when you become absolutely still. See if you can get still enough to feel your heart. You're going to feel that in the fourth bell. So if you slept well last night, start with gratitude for that. You know, you fall asleep, right? You don't decide if you're going to sleep or not. You know, you get to decide to start, but the body goes to sleep. The body takes care of it. You don't have to worry about your breathing. You don't have to worry about digestion. The body takes care of it. So if you slept well last night, offer a little gratitude there. And if you didn't sleep well last night, you know, give yourself, a little bit of compassion, right? Just give yourself a sense of it's okay. You know, it's okay that I didn't sleep well last night. I'll drink some extra water today. I'll get a nap in. And, maybe I'll do X, Y, and Z a little bit different, get some sleep tonight, So just be gentle with yourself, in the realm of kind of what we're doing and mindfulness practice and where we are and what we're trying to pull off. There's no end to this. There's nowhere to get to where it's like, it's figured out. I got it squared away. That's not how it works. There's simply the continuation of the participation. So, don't, if you didn't sleep well, don't be discouraged. If you did sleep well, have gratitude. And so with that, we'll call it a day. And tomorrow's Veterans Day. Again, thank you to AARP. If you want one of these and you're a veteran, go to the RVA Honor Quest page, sign up, come on the Honor Quest with us tomorrow. It's going to be really cool. There's parts of Richmond that I've learned and that are related to veterans, and so much about Richmond itself had an influence on how we became the warriors we are. So the American warrior is largely defined by kind of American warrior culture out of the Civil War. And so, so much of that took place in and around Richmond. So there's a lot to see there. There's a lot to engage with around kind of conflict, resolving conflict, all things that, veterans are particularly suited to have an opinion on, and also particularly suited to have civilians have an opinion on. So it's Veterans Day is about veterans, but it's also about the relationship between a nation and its veterans. So I hope you have time to come down. Again, thank you to AARP for these great cushions, and we'll see you tomorrow.